Hello and welcome to another episode of CineBeards. I'm your host, Jason Musicanth. With me, as always, is Dion van Heerden.
Hi.
And Marcus Kneef. It's beautiful.
Sweet.
This week's episode... This week's episode, we got our topic because at a party the other night, somebody asked me, hey, what is even the point of superhero movies? Why do they even make them?
Okay.
And like,
I just have one question before you continue.
Yeah.
What am a party?
What am a party?
And why do they even make it?
Yes, what am's a parties?
I'm asking that right?
You are. Well, a party, Dion, you might remember, I'm not sure, is something that single lonely people like myself are forced to go to in order to find somebody to not go to parties with.
That makes sense, but no, I have no idea what you're talking about. But fair enough. The question's fair enough, even if it sounds like this, like bullshit, the conceit. You know, but like, oh, I was in Vietnam and a small child came up to me and said, "Sir, why must the West imperialize the rest of the world?"
Dion, that's a crazy story. What did you tell the child?
Oh no, Jason! It was a hypothetical thing to show how absurd your premise is. You were at a party.
I think it was at an apartment.
And you were
Apartment.
and you were looking for some. Who were you looking for?
I wasn't looking for anyone. I was there to celebrate a friend's birthday.
But you said
you go to a party to find someone to not go to parties with.
Yeah,
Ergo,
you were looking
you were
for
looking
something.
for.
So who were you looking for? Was like, are they lost? Are they flyers we can hand out and help?
I mean, that would help me personally.
Okay, because it sounds like there's some real, interesting people that hang out at these apartments. Because that's a real dumb question.
So, let's answer this question.
Because they're cool. End of podcast.
That was a quick one.
Yeah.
You can follow me at JMusica.
All right.
Crabbies.
Yeah, and watch porn on Netflix.
Oh no, Marcus, you ruined it. Now we have to actually talk about the thing.
Oh my god. Okay,
so Jason, why am superhero movies?
Ooh, can I take this one?
Yeah, you can start us off.
Go for it.
Fantastic. Superhero movies are just the current form that modern myth-making is taking the shape of. We've been telling these stories about fantastical creatures and beings for years and years, and where to find them, for as long as there has been an oral tradition of storytelling. This is just the most widespread form now. Early in the century, there were Western forms. Before that, plays, operas. Before that, just telling a story. Before that, oral traditions about Odysseus and Beowulf. It goes back as far as human history. This is just the current form.
But these ones wear tights, and I'm totally shredded.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, how are adults supposed to enjoy these movies?
He didn't wear tights.
No, but he was shredded.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, that's at least like a proto superhero.
Yeah.
But how are adults even supposed to enjoy these movies? I mean, none of them even did the festival circuit or artsy. So how are they supposed to be taken seriously?
Didn't Logan do the festival circuit?
Did it?
I don't believe so.
I'm just sucking that out of my thumb.
I don't think
it actually did.
But yeah, I think the reason that adults can enjoy them, and stop me if I'm wrong here, is that regardless of what it's about, good storytelling and filmmaking is enjoyable to watch.
That's a crazy idea, Dion.
If you add in sort of empowerment fantasies into that, it sounds, in theory at least, like it might be a good time for the vast majority of people.
Yeah, and then, say, just spitballing here, you could perhaps use that reach to so many people to actually teach them good lessons and good morals. But if only superheroes were upstanding citizens that stood for justice.
Like in Man of Steel.
And truth. And snapping Zod's neck.
If you're angry about the people, if you're angry at the people from the place where you came from, so say like you moved from another city, destroy the city you're living in now as part of that conflict.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
But is there like a different
feels like a
version
good
of the
life
film
lesson.
that I could get that would be, say, perhaps darker and unfinished?
Okay, let's not go down this road.
Yeah, but no, like seriously, they have massive reach and massive appeal, and they're sending out messages to tons of people that the art circuit movies can't.
Yeah, and they're well, for one thing, it's escapism.
Yeah.
It's entertaining,
Yeah.
and it is. I mean, it's exactly what Marcus said. It's myth making. These are mythological characters in exactly the same way as the Greek pantheon,
Yeah.
or just any other sort of group of fictional characters that interact in different ways, have personalities, and are just larger than life.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at early Justice League when they just formed the Justice League in the comic books in the, I think it was the early 60s,
Yeah,
they were basically an analog for the Greek pantheon.
yeah, they still are.
And they still are for most part, no matter what Zack Snyder tries to do. But like I said,
Yeah.
like our gods, in
Yeah.
inverted commas, became superheroes. That's the form of myth that we are willing to accept in modern society. It's fine to believe in the messages and the stories because they're analogs for real life situations.
I mean, you just need to take out superhero and you just need to replace it with film about superhumans.
Yeah.
And you've like that takes the stigma of like, because I think what puts people off is this idea of superheroes, and as soon as you use the word heroes, it feels like like a fairly juvenile thing.
Yes.
But it's literally just it's films about heightened human beings, about superhumans. So whether they have super strength or super intellect, whatever,
Or the power of money.
and also that sort of more, it's not just about heroes, it's heroes and villains, and see superhumans, they go up against each other, and yeah, I mean that's literally just the basis of human storytelling for the most part. Like it's not like stories about your average Joe going about his life. It's great and it's enjoyable, but it's not really escapism, and it's not a power fantasy.
Yeah.
So those films have their place, but superhero films are feeding into our need for hope and for feeling a little more empowered, for just escaping from
And
Day to
for
day.
inclusion, really.
yeah.
Because the main stance of a lot of superheroes is that they feel like an outsider
Yeah.
in the community that they're in. And like everybody, even though they aren't, everybody feels like an outsider at times. I mean, it helps people feel better about themselves, and it gives them something to aspire towards.
Well, I mean, that's why at the turn of this millennium, I can say that, right?
Yeah, turn of the
At the
millennium.
turn of the millennium, why the X-Men movies became so popular, because it was this whole, using like mutancy as an analog for, at that time, which was very prevalent, was people struggling with their own sexuality, specifically homosexuality.
Yeah.
And using that as sort of a method to address those issues, it resonated with a hell of a lot of people, especially younger people. And say what you will about the films and their relative quality, X2 doesn't hold up, and X3 we don't talk about, but the message still holds up more than the film itself on a technical level.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is if you go look again at sort of like Greek theater, they were very often telling stories about the pantheon, but the pantheon were always imbued with human shortcomings.
The gods are only human.
Yeah.
is the old saying that
there's a lot of sort of wisdom and life lessons held in those stories, and this is just a natural continuation of that. If you were to just make theater about superheroes, the reason that wouldn't work is just because cinema happens to be the current most popular medium of storytelling.
Yeah.
It's like a visual filmed medium. If we didn't have cinemas, we would be making theater productions about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And those theater productions do happen. I mean, there's that famously over-budgeted Spider-Man musical.
Spider-Man 2,
too many Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But the thing is also because I think at the moment the kind of spectacle that you want to really represent that sort of power and superhuman ability, it's more within the reach of filmmakers at the moment because of CGI, because of where cinema is. So it also just makes perfect sense at this point that if you want someone to lift up a building, it's relatively trivial to have them do that. If you want to create a fantastical creature entirely in CGI, it's relatively trivial to do that.
If you want to have
if
the
you can throw
villain,
the money
easier
at it,
now than it ever has been
if you really want
before.
the villain to tower over the heroes and maybe be a shade of grape, you know,
maybe throw a moon or two at
maybe
them.
throw a moon or two at people, you know, you can do that now.
Yeah,
by throwing a money or two at them.
Yeah, if you have the money to throw at it, you can make... And it's not that the bad superhero films were just sort of hamstrung by their budgets, but that was definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That a lot of them just visually have not aged well at all.
Yeah.
And I think now...
Like Green Lantern, like it looked bad when it came out. It looks so bad now. Like,
And I think now we've also reached the point where serious filmmakers realize that this is sort of a set of toys that they can play with. You know, this is something that they can make.
To an extent, I mean, a lot of the actors who do play in these superhero movies do get a lot of flack from real actors. I'm doing air quotes here.
Yeah,
real actors who think, "Oh, you selling out and doing like superhero movies rather than real movies."
But in fairness, I mean, at this point, it's people like Ian McKellen, Kate Blanchett, John C. Reilly, you know, the truly great...
hence my finger quotes to real actors.
That's the thing is, at this point, who really are these, quote, real, unquote, actors that haven't done superhero films?
They're just salty people who haven't been cast yet.
Because pretty much everyone's done them now. I mean, Anthony Hopkins was Odin. It's finished. Like, it's done. The stigma's dead. you if you're holding on to it. But there's always been, I mean, when the rift between film and theatre actors...
Yes,
famously,
which is still as wide as it's ever been. The theater crowd on the east coast of the United States have no love for their West Coast brothers.
And you've got, I mean, look at in music, Bob Dylan. When Bob Dylan went electric, I mean, the whole of the folk community disowned him overnight. They were just like, because he went electric, and we shouldn't need to go electric. That's selling out. That's going mainstream. So I think
Kate Blanchett played the hell out of that role, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's obviously now it's the big new mainstream thing, but it's just going to get to a point where there's just the old guard have died out, and it's just the absolute norm that you play superhero films.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also. I mean, it's just bullshit, to be honest. Like the people who are saying like, oh, the quote unquote real actors. I mean, what the hell are they doing for the community? These superhero actors are out there all the time visiting the kids' hospitals. They're making people's lives better and easier, you know, less painful to go through. And those real actors are like, no, you're not respecting the craft.
That's the thing is, there are actors who are always conscious of other actors, and they act for other actors. Like filmmakers who make films for other filmmakers, and musicians who make music conscious of other musicians.
Yes.
And they never want to make anything that could be construed as easy or overly accessible by the unwashed masses. And those people are always going to exist, and they're just massively outnumbered.
Yeah, to the tune
really
of
are. Several billion annually.
I mean, I can understand up until 15, 20 years ago, maybe. Yeah, say about 20 years ago, when there were very few... I mean, there was Superman and there was Batman and so on, but there were very few great superhero films. Everything that had been up to that point has mostly been swept under the carpet now. I mean, there were a bunch of Marvel films from back then which were
that Captain America.
Those bad Captain America ones.
Beyond appalling.
The bad second Hulk movie that was a spin-off of the TV show where they actually had Hulk and Thor in the movie. It was... terrible. Lou Ferrigno was still like a great Hulk, but
But yeah, so it would make sense up until then, but now I think, as with anything that suddenly becomes a massive commercial success, you're always going to have your, air quotes, purists looking down on it and feeling threatened by it.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
I don't play with Lego, I only play with Meccano.
Jeez, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, who doesn't
just
play
made-
Lego?
Yeah,
I just made that up.
Okay, yeah, I just want to say that's a bad person. Whoever said that is just a bad
But that's the
person.
same type of person, that...
Yeah. I don't play Fortnite, I play PUBG. Those people.
Yeah.
Because Fortnite has colors and...
Yeah, it's not talking green.
You know, I still actually want to try Fortnite because I've played some PUBG.
Yeah,
I own PUBG.
I do wanna try it at some point. I mean, there's got to be a reason if it's entertaining that many people.
Yeah, if it's got multiple millions playing daily,
Yeah,
there's got to be something to it.
yeah, it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
Like this cocaine stuff I've been hearing about.
Yeah, oh no, cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, no. I don't know where we
Yeah,
were.
so as we were saying, snooty actors are going to be snooty.
Yeah, they can be.
Oh,
snooty.
right, that's where we
and
were.
snooty fans are going to be snooty.
Yeah. Superhero films,
fans,
what I
moviegoers.
like about it as well is it always feels, even though people are complaining, maybe there's some burnout because there's so many of them, there's just so many themes that they can tackle, and as we've said before, just so many genres it can handle, because superhero films aren't a genre, as you always say. It's like, we can have superhero westerns and superhero sci-fis and superhero thrillers and all of that. Like, it can just stay fresh.
Yeah, I mean, look at just what Fox is doing with some of the side projects. I mean, Logan being a western, Deadpool being the first one being a romantic comedy, essentially.
Yeah.
An R-rated one.
Yeah.
And New Mutants looking very much like a Cronenbergian body horror.
Well,
That looks
they
really good.
have said that they're going deep into the horror, like
Yeah.
they're leaning into it completely.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I mean, you have something like Spider-Man Homecoming, which is basically a comedy.
It's basically a John Hughes high school comedy.
no, it is basically
you've
a high
got
school
Thor
comedy.
Ragnarok also, which is just like an action comedy buddy film.
Yeah.
It's
It's basically
opera.
Flash Gordon. And then you've got Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a little bit more melodramatic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
that's
then,
full-on space opera.
and,
right
then, and
there.
then you got your spy thrillers.
Yeah, you got Winter Soldier. Speaking of which, if you haven't watched Winter Soldier with the director's commentary and the writer's commentary, you are missing out.
Yeah, I
So,
want that
so
so
good.
bad. Like you said, that's on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, so good.
I have the Blu-ray. I'll
Yeah,
have to.
it's both Russo brothers and the two writers.
Nice.
And it's just you
Nice.
must sit there with a pen and paper though, because they're just giving you movie recommendations the whole time,
Yeah.
non-stop.
Well, I can imagine. Like, I can just see the Russo brothers being huge film nerds.
they're
are full-on-
encyclopedias.
They are full-on film nerds, and it's so good to listen to. Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing that Marvel in particular is doing, and that's giving like up and coming directors like big shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, poor Kenneth Branagh was nobody.
Yeah, but now you're going further back.
I'm teasing you,
Yeah.
Jason.
It made sense to give something that,
Yeah.
like, lore-heavy and almost Shakespearean to
Yeah, but
Kenneth Branagh.
you've got
It did
you've got
wonders
the
for James
Russo,
Gunn as
you've
well.
got the Russo brothers who come from Community and Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And they're doing their thing. You've got Taika Waititi, who's like a niche, super niche director.
Super niche. Like, the closest release in terms of box office to Thor Ragnarok was What We Do in the Shadows with, like, $300,000 US.
Worldwide.
Well, worldwide or something like that. Like, it was like a ridiculous jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just spotting that talent, and also just being extremely thorough with how they vet their directors.
Yeah.
With that whole, we've spoken about it before, that whole process that they have. They'll have several, with a Black Widow movie, apparently they've had just initial conversations with something like 50 or 60 directors.
Upwards of that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for something like Doctor Strange, where they narrow it down, and then you'd have 4 or 5 directors doing full-on, going away, doing full-on pitches.
Yeah.
filming entire scene, like really just getting down to like, this is how I will approach this film, this is my direction. Like really just being thorough, and for the most part that's paid off extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, I would not have pegged personally when news first started surfacing for a Doctor Strange movie. I did not picture Scott Derrickson, a man coming from a pure horror background, to give us such a visual feast that Doctor Strange gave us.
But you could also see his love for the character.
Yeah, you could see like his love for Jack Kirby's psychedelic art is
it's all over them.
over the show.
That amazing fight scene in the operating theater where they're fighting as spirits. That's something that he made a version of that as part of his pitch, and Marvel bought it from him.
Yeah.
So you can really see that's not just someone coming in as a hired gun. You know, that's someone who really believes in the project and invests themselves.
Yeah, and that's what they do and who they find.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Coogler is a phenomenal filmmaker, first and foremost.
Yeah.
The fact that he made one of the most successful Marvel movies to date now is incidental to the fact that he's a great filmmaker.
Yeah, and they're allowing filmmakers to bring in, you know, a political viewpoint.
Yeah.
They're not playing it overly safe. It's not insular, and I think that was a problem with maybe some of the older superhero films, sort of the real bombs. It was more about being in this sort of fictional insulated universe and not letting the real world bleed in.
Yeah.
I mean, something like Winter Soldier still just feels so prescient.
Yes.
Black Panther as well. There's just a lot of really strong themes that they can explore through the lens of a superhero film.
Yeah. And sometimes this is going to get some flack.
Yeah.
But sometimes the restriction of having to make it a PG-13 movie, because for a large part, most of these are rated PG-13, that forces the filmmakers to get creative as well for the more, the hard stuff that they would just put in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's a good example? Like
you can't use shock value in terms of language and in terms of graphic violence to make your point for you.
Yeah.
Because those things, as great as they are, they can often be crutches.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Lesser filmmakers can use them as crutches, and that forces the filmmaker to focus on character, to focus on structure and pacing, to make their point and make their impact. They can't just have a bunch of profanity and a bunch of exploding, gory body.
Exploding boobies.
Oh yeah, he's a bad guy, so you just see him like graphically cutting off people's heads or whatever. Yeah. I mean, obviously I love the shit out of an R-rated film.
Yeah, when it's warranted, yes.
Yeah, but especially something like Logan or Deadpool, I think both of those.
They would be severely hurt by not being R-rated.
Yeah, but I think there's a tendency to want to make films R-rated for the sake of it, and I agree that if you're giving someone restrictions, you're saying this has to be PG-13. You can't just fall back on easy shocks.
Yeah, and I mean, who would have thought one of the biggest movies to deal with the effects of colonialism would be the third Thor movie, which is also more a Flash Gordon movie than a Thor movie. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Or it didn't used to happen, I should say. Now, it's sort of the norm. It's the norm to almost expect the unexpected from comic book movies now in this, I want to say we're now post-Infinity War. I think now we're in the third major era of comic book movies.
Possibly, yeah.
I would say, if you just draw back, Thor Ragnarok technically came out before and Black Panther, but from there onwards, with the projects that are coming out and are in production, it feels like there's now a shift coming to where it actually diversifies more.
Yeah, it feels like we're in the middle of that.
Yeah, where Marvel movies won't be as formulaic as they used to be.
Well, you just need to go to, like, I mean, if you're going to do those ones, you've got to include Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I mean, how that dealt with, like, growing up in an abusive family and abusive parent figures.
Yeah.
Like, it dealt with that wonderfully, and it also, like, expressed it to an audience that wouldn't have seen it if it weren't a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
that
the
message
other
would
thing
not
is-
have gotten to as many people if it weren't a superhero movie.
I think the fact that these films, that they're dealing with heavy themes, but that their primary mandate is to be entertaining, is a good thing. Because
very much
films
so.
that set out from the start to express a certain theme and to do it in a very sort of, adult, quote, adult, unquote way, very often they preach to the choir.
Yeah,
They
the
don't get
people who are
seen-
seeing those films are people who already know that kind
Yeah,
of
I
stuff.
mean, if you're going to go watch a film which is all about, say, the civil rights movement, you're not going to get a mainstream audience that's going to be somehow swayed or learn something or see things in a new light.
They're just not going to go watch it.
They're going to be preaching to the choir. But if you put that in the middle of a Marvel film, I mean, like you said, with Thor Ragnarok, colonial. I was watching The Royal Wedding and thinking, didn't you people watch Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah.
You should fucking know better than this.
You know what they've done.
Yeah, it's like, where did all this opulence come from? It's imperialism. And if you were to just make a film straight that's about like the imperialism and how bad it is, and how people like the Brits and so on became as wealthy and as influential as they are, mostly you would just be making that film for people who already know, who are already interested in the topic.
Yeah, if you make, a period piece about British colonialism. Of colonialism,
Canola oilism.
colonialism of the African continent, you're only serving a small market. But if you had that same message in Black Panther, you're reaching a very, very wider market.
Yeah, a far wider market with an entertaining form. It's that spoonful of sugar.
Exactly. It makes it easier to process, and it makes it easier to remember.
Yeah, and it strips your bones of calcium.
Yes.
It does?
I may have like lost the analogy here. Sorry.
No, wait. Does sugar strip your bones of calcium?
No, I don't know. I know it makes it more difficult for your body to absorb calcium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It's okay, Jason. You're not falling apart just yet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good reason, just on its own, for superheroes, especially the way superhero films are now, as a more sophisticated medium, a medium where filmmakers are taking them seriously. The filmmakers aren't just hired guns. And also that films that are becoming bigger than themselves. They're part of these expanded universes. So it's basically, you have this world of different themes, different focuses, different fan bases being told different things, and they're crossing over, they're watching the other films. You've got a really, actually, just a rich diet of thematic material and just life lessons, I guess, that you're learning by watching these films.
And then you're going ahead and actually physically bringing these people together.
Yeah, I can't think of another type of film that you can say that of.
Yeah, no, there's nothing else quite like it
And
out
I think
there.
because it's new, because it's tainted with, how many years of stigma, there will always be, or there will be for the foreseeable future, people who look down on it. And they're wrong. So what's your favorite superhero film, Jason?
Quite possibly Mask of the Phantasm. I mean, I haven't watched it in a little while.
Apparently
but
there's a remastered version of that out
Marcus
on
was singing
Blu-ray.
its praises earlier.
Yeah.
It's probably where you heard it.
It was my unique observation. It's gonna be my recommendation for the week.
There's actually like a ton of them to choose from, to be honest. But yeah, I like Batman Begins. I really, really enjoyed. Winter Soldier, obviously. I mean, how could you not like the best of the Marvel films? Although with Infinity War out, it's quite tight which one's the best, eh?
You know, we had this argument about Civil War as well. It's scope versus
scope versus focus.
Yeah, scope versus focus. I mean, like each one of them in their own way is a feat of filmmaking that the Russos should be proud of.
Oh,
Each one
without
of
a
them.
doubt.
But I don't know which one is a better film.
Which is your favorite superhero film? Not sticking to the MCU.
That is a very hard question
It's
to
an
answer.
incredibly difficult question to answer.
Yes. So why are you putting me on the spot,
Because
Jason?
Dion did it to me, and I'm paying it forward like that kid in that movie, The Sixth Sense.
Fine. If it'll make the internet like me, I'll say Batman Returns.
That's the second Tim Burton
That's
one.
the second
Yeah.
Tim Burton one, yeah.
I've got to say, I'm deeply fond of that.
I am deeply fond of it because, how can I put this? When I saw it the first time, I was at just the right age to appreciate Michelle Pfeiffer in a catsuit.
Okay, I was,
Like,
I was
I'm
still a
just
bit young then.
laying it bare.
It's one of those films that I'm never going to argue it's the best, but that is definitely, in terms of like just personal affection, that's also high
It's-
up there.
it's high up on my list,
I really
personally.
like the aesthetic of it. The acting is great. I just wish Batman were a tad less murdery in
And
it.
the thing is,
but,
when I watched it, I had no attachment to Batman as a character,
Yeah.
no idea of him. So like that just went over my head. I
Yeah.
was just like, this is fucking cool. And
You see,
do wish
I watched it later on in life because obviously I was a very tiny baby when it was
Yeah.
first released.
And I do wish that we could get that kind of Gotham again.
Well,
Yeah.
you kind of got it in Batman Begins with the weird city train and the Narrows and everything.
Yeah,
like
but
Yeah,
still,
it was
felt
still-
like not the over the top Gotham that you knew from those kind of things, but it felt like
yeah, it felt
Gotham.
more.
It didn't
but I
feel
mean,
like Chicago
But that
like
was
the other
also
two.
a good long time ago.
Yeah.
Batman Begin was a while ago.
That was 2005.
Yep.
Yeah, that's several lifetimes.
Yeah.
So I think I miss that kind of thing. Just like the Arkham games.
Yeah.
Like, I love that kind of Gotham. I just love that feel to it. Yeah, I also am very, very fond of that.
Yeah. It's not the best. I know it's not. And it's probably
this
not
is-
even my favorite. But, you know, there's just
it's
something
one
about...
that always comes up when you think of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, when I think about superhero movies, I think to when I was a kid, you know, and I get back to like the Ninja Turtles live action movie, the first one, which was legitimately decent.
That holds up.
It holds
The
up.
others don't.
And
but that one
Batman
does.
Returns as well. It's just there, was always there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, nobody who enjoys superheroes and superhero movies can ever say that they wholeheartedly dislike those Burton Batman movies, because what I gave as my favorite movie, Mask of the Phantasm, would never have existed without them because they gave life to the animated series.
Yeah. And
The-
that animated series, both the entire DC animated universe
Yep.
of films, which have
Is still
also
to this
run
day-
the gamut of genres within themselves.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean that, the old X-Men series, and more recently Young Justice, are some of the best animated shows out there.
I just
guess.
recently binge watched Justice League and the follow-on Justice League Unlimited,
Yeah.
and I'll say this: like, I prefer the original Justice League cartoon to
everybody does,
Unlimited
yeah.
because of the fact that almost every episode was a 2-episode like mini thing. It was 2 or 3 episodes.
With Unlimited,
Which
it felt a little
just-
bit like Too Many Cooks.
Yeah, it felt a little bit like Too Many Cooks, and they, like, I enjoyed the series finale at the end of Justice League Unlimited Season 3,
Yeah.
but it was rushed. Like, that should have been, like, a 3-episode or a movie-length thing. I'm not spoiling it, I'm just saying, like, that finale would have been better served in a longer format. Like Starcrossed was for the Justice League cartoon. That was 3 episodes of
Yeah.
the Thanagarian invasion.
I mean,
But I'm off on a
but
tangent
now
now.
I think it's time, Marcus, for you to pay it on as well and put the question in Dion's lap. your favorite superhero movie?
Oh, that's the thing is, I'd say obviously I have a lot of sort of sentimental attachment to the Burton Batmans. Absolutely love them.
But you can't choose them because Marcus already chose.
Yeah, but I wouldn't
Yeah, I
choose
know.
either. But it would definitely, in terms of just like personal attachment, they're top 5. It's between, I think, Winter Soldier and I know it's new and fresh, and Infinity War. And the reason I say that is I think Winter Soldier for me is probably just personal taste, probably the best superhero film ever, like for me, because it's just like tight, focused. It's political without being preachy. It like reinvented Captain America for me. You know, like how I see him just as like this fucking badass. So good. Love everything about it. And Infinity War, I think, is the ultimate wish fulfillment for me. You've seen Infinity War, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I haven't spoken to you since then. So Infinity War is like the ultimate wish fulfillment because it's what all these films were building up to. It has obviously all the characters and all of that, but it's a superhero film where the villain wins. And it's a superhero film where nothing was off the table.
Yeah.
It never felt too concerned with the future. Or like it's up to the next Infinity War to fix what's broken.
Yeah,
you know?
and it will get fixed.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
will, but
it's a comic book movie. It's gonna get fixed.
It'll
Yes.
get fixed, but you never feel like it was pulling any punches.
no.
And almost all superhero films feel like they're pulling punches at some point. And this just felt like at any moment anything can happen, and the film that like as soon as you see
yeah. So
Loki getting murdered.
Yeah, Loki. So spoilers
We've
for
already done
Infinity
our,
War.
yeah, we've already done our spoiler
Yeah,
review.
so if you're listening to this, spoilers for Infinity War, when they just straight up kill Loki and Heimdall within the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, and the score was so different, you know,
Yeah.
when he's holding the Tesseract, and it's that
Yes.
solo violin, and that's when you know. And I think just
Well,
when I was
you
watching,
knew shit was real when it started with the logo and no like hopeful Marvel music over
Yeah.
it.
yeah, I think just things like specific fights between Doctor Strange and Thanos.
Yeah,
Thanos throws a fucking black hole at him.
yeah.
He fucking throws a moon at Tony Stark. Shit like that. It's just it is so.
It is comic books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fucking heavy metal.
And and Thor landing in Wakanda with fucking Stormbreaker, and then just ripping those outsiders to
Oh
shreds.
my god, that was good.
That was just like,
when he did that massive AOE attack. I was a small child again. I was just
Yeah.
like, yes!
I was like, I love Thor.
And I think that's why that was the sort of the gap that Civil War filled for me.
Yeah.
You know, where you had the airport scene, and I
Yes.
was like, wow, you know,
Yeah,
This
With
is just an
giant
entire
man,
movie of
yeah.
the airport scene.
yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, this movie was just relentless the whole time. Just plot driving forward, action nonstop. And that's the thing is, it's like Winter Soldier. I think is just as a film, better film
Yeah.
in most ways.
Yeah, on purely
technical-
nuts and bolts technical filmmaking.
What I just love
standard.
Infinity War because it just feels like they trust their audience enough. This is the payoff. Like, you've watched all 17, 18 films. Here it is.
Yeah.
This is what you wanted, and we're not holding anything back.
Yeah.
Have all of it. And that's what I like. I just fucking love that about the movie.
And that they were bold enough to, like, end the movie with the villain winning.
Yeah.
Because they
It's
know the people are already invested. They're going to come back for part 2
Yeah.
when they rename it officially to part 2 again. Like,
Probably.
everyone's going to come back and...
Avengers Assemble
No,
is what I'm banking
that's
on. That.
that's what Avengers was released as in the UK.
I know,
Yes.
but nobody cares about the UK, Dion.
Oh yeah, true.
But what I'm saying, like, that they were willing to go there to put... And, yeah, maybe, like, in hindsight, you know, the stakes aren't that high, you know, because we know the films are coming out and the people that have died are coming back.
Yeah,
in
but that
some
doesn't
capacity.
matter in the moment.
That doesn't matter in the moment.
Yeah.
Because, again, those people are talking about the craft. Like, the reason that scene between Spider-Man and Iron Man works is because Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. sell the hell out of that scene.
Yeah, they're amazing actors, and you're super invested in
You're
their characters.
super invested in those characters. I mean, like when Thanos has to kill Gamora to get the Soul Stone, like like you just in Brolin's performance under the mocap, you can just see that grief in his face.
That's the other thing, is it's in terms of CGI, villains. I mean, this is just
It's a step up. It's not
the performance, and reading interviews with Brolin, with the filmmakers, talking about how in their initial conversations, he had the mocap stuff on, and they were just having a normal conversation. He wasn't acting. He was just having a normal day-to-day, and they took that footage and put it through the process, and then showed
him what it looks like.
Yeah, so that he knew he doesn't have to go over the top. He doesn't have, everything's going to be captured, every nuance. He can underplay it to give him that confidence
and that texture to the
and
character.
It's so good.
Yeah. We've come a long way since that all CG Beowulf movie. You remember that?
Yeah, that was great.
With weird Uncanny Valley Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. We've come a long way.
I remember, I just loved that because I was like, the CG was so cool.
Yeah.
It was super cool.
It was super cool when it came out.
Punching Grendel in the head. He's like, I am Beowulf.
Yeah.
I remember nothing of the story. I just remember going like, this is so cool looking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay!
But
we have come a long way.
Yeah, we have come a long way. And so I'm just getting chills when they end Infinity War just with that solo piano.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
It's coming back to me now.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, well, now you're going down to me
and
too.
then they wait right till the end of the credits.
Yeah.
For the credit scene, and that's just more of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just.
Yeah. So yeah, like that's why I love Infinity War. It's just, it wasn't concerned with what comes. Or I know it is, but it never feels like it's concerned with what's coming after.
Yeah.
It feels like they could just tell the story exactly the way, and they don't have to worry about this actor's contract or that. We know Chadwick Boseman's coming back, but let's kill him.
Yeah.
Like, they could just do everything that could give it maximum impact.
Exactly. I mean, why kill those characters? Because look at the survivors. It's
original Avengers.
the original
we went through
Avengers.
this in our,
Yeah, I know you probably did it in the review, but when that movie, when the fourth one opens and it's just the core team again, that's going to feed on that nostalgia for the first Avengers, which is almost 10 years old.
Yeah, the first Avengers and Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
And Rocket Raccoon. Oh, man.
So yeah, but if I had to sort of just give one, I'd say Winter
Speaking of
Soldier.
which, I'm sure Jason sent you that tweet as well, where someone asked James Gunn what were Groot's final words.
Fuck off. Yes, I know. Oh.
Sorry, I'm a
I
terrible
watched Gerald's
human.
game last night. I'm fragile.
I'm sorry, I know you're fragile, but yeah, Infinity War hit me pretty hard as well. Like in the moment, I was
and
like,
in IMAX, and you can see it, filmed with just filmed entirely
Yeah,
with
the
IMAX
first
cameras.
film filmed entirely in IMAX.
Yeah.
and watching it in IMAX was just a joyous treat.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. Oh, so good. And that soundtrack, I've been playing that on Spotify. Just
Oh yeah, no, like
non-stop.
Easily
I've
Sylvester's
listened to
best
it
work.
so much.
Yeah, for sure.
I've listened to that soundtrack so much that I now have 3 recommended daily playlists. One for heavy metal, one for like old punk, like it's Rancid and old NoFX and Pennywise and stuff like that. And the third one is just Alan Silvestri and Hans Zimmer. That's how much I've been listening to that soundtrack. With Cap's theme working when he
all the
appears, and
different-
like everything was just so.
Yeah,
we're getting off topic.
Fight,
It's just
that fight.
oh.
But that's the thing is, I mean, look at the passionate response that these films have as well. There aren't a lot of film genres where people can get together, talk about the characters, and you're talking about someone like Tony Stark, who you've got to know in his current incarnation for the last decade.
Yeah.
And you can be so passionate about the character and know him in the kind of detail that comic book fans have known their favorite characters in for years. And you can finally get that, but far more grandiose in terms of visually, and far more accessible.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was just that moment back there when we were just discussing Infinity War. Like, we all had massive smiles on our faces. And, like,
That's the.
Do you need more of a purpose than
Yeah.
that?
Nah.
They make us happy.
Yeah.
They make us happy.
At least these 3 white men.
Damn it.
You've exposed us, Marcus.
As if
And
it
on
wasn't
that
clear
bombshell.
by the channel art.
But yeah, I think that wraps up pretty
Yeah.
well. Like,
Pretty good. They exist because they make us happy, and they make the people that make the films a whole bunch of money because they make us happy.
Yeah.
And isn't that just like the perfect version of capitalism?
yeah.
It actually is.
making money, making money
Buying-
and making people happy.
Yeah.
Marcus, do you have any recommendations in the meantime?
Yeah, on Netflix you can probably just sit and wait for the 2nd season of Luke Cage, which is coming soon.
Oh, yeah.
Which-
Yes.
Oh, and fucking Arrested Development and Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah. Oh yes, Kimmy Schmidt's coming back
yes.
very soon as well, as is Arrested Development season 5. Hopefully it's on our Netflix.
Yeah,
At
please.
the time of recording, we don't know yet, but I'm hoping it's there.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, and then of course just I guess wait until September for more BoJack because
I forgot about that.
yeah, that's also coming.
I mean, there is a movie coming out this Friday, but I can't in good conscience recommend it.
Why?
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Recommend for that feels like a strong word.
Yeah, I can notify you of its imminent release.
Yes.
And that's what I shall do.
Yeah.
So I guess be on the lookout.
Be aware.
Be aware. Dion?
I guess Marcus did it for me. Mask of the Phantasm?
Yeah.
It's,
The
It's
re-release on
appropriate and it works.
Blu-ray.
yeah, it's not actually on the official Blu-ray release site, but
It's been out for a little while now.
has it? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
but
cool.
like
It's
it's
been like
still
a
it's
week.
on Blu-ray, so
Yeah,
you
so go.
can recommend it.
I can get that. Crabbies.